So tell me, how did you rebrand from Build Your Network to your current podcast? The iteration it's in now, the evolution. This niche
Yeah.
is Travis Makes Friends.
Yeah.
And it's not, it doesn't seem like it's a 180 pivot. You
Correct.
just, yeah,
Yeah, it was just more
took a course
broad.
correction.
Yeah, exactly. Course correction is a great way to say it. It's just more broad. It's just like we were super narrow for a while, and now we can go really broad. So, for most of Build Your Network, it was mostly talking to business leaders, entrepreneurs, authors, stuff like that. Now, since the rebrand, we've had a lot of athletes on the show. We've had a lot of comedians on the show, entertainers, influencers, like just some other people with an eclectic mixture of expertise and knowledge that isn't necessarily all about like how to go network with people. It's more just like the show is called Travis Makes Friends because it's more just like documenting my journey of making friends with people who I find interesting. And then people can kind of just follow along with that, for the ride, so to speak.
No, that sounds fantastic. And I think that's one of the best benefits of having your own podcast is that you get to talk to. It's a way in to talking to some people who would otherwise be inaccessible.
No, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like that's the number one thing that I tell people when I get asked, should everyone start a podcast or should I start a podcast or whatever? The answer I always come back with is that was exactly what you just said. Even if you never get millions of downloads or it never becomes your full-time thing or you never become the next Joe Rogan or whatever, arbitrary metric that you've defined as success for you, even if that doesn't happen, if you have an interview show, by nature of having the show, you will improve several things about your life, including the relationships that you have and like the depth and width of those relationships. Like the number of people that you know, but also the number of interesting people that you know, and also the number of conversations that you have with people that can help change your perspective and your opinion on things and make you and turn you into a better version of yourself. And, I think one of the most underrated personal development activities is just conversations with people that are smarter than you or have figured something out that you haven't figured out, or somebody who disagrees with you. Like just having a conversation with somebody, open conversation where you come prepared with questions that you're curious about.
Mm-hmm.
Those conversations can lead to you becoming a better version of yourself without ever picking up a book or listening to somebody else's show. It's just the fact that you're having the conversations, and that like conversations like that, they just don't happen in normal day-to-day life, typically for most people, especially the more disconnected we get, right? Like people aren't going into the office. They're working from home from Zoom. There's so many things that make us more disconnected. And if you're not intentionally connecting and conversing with intelligent people who you can rub your ideas up against, then how do you know if your ideas are correct? How do you know if you're making any headway towards your goals? Like there's just a lot of really great benefit from having intelligent, long form conversation with, people who have your respect or admiration, or even some people who don't, who you ardently disagree with, and want to try to understand their perspective. There's so much good that comes from that. So just having the podcast by itself will, I think, make you a better individual, better at whatever it is that you do, especially if whatever it is you do, meaning like if you're a marketer and you interview expert marketers once a week for 3 years, you can't help but improve. It's going to be a byproduct of the conversations you have and the things that you're learning in those conversations. So it makes you a better version of whatever you are, plus a better version of yourself completely, because you're learning from people, but also you're learning really translatable skills, soft skills like communication, asking good questions, having empathy, active listening. All of those things are really valuable in multiple arenas, not just having a podcast. So all of these other reasons are reasons to have a show. And then it's kind of the cherry on top is like, if I do this enough reps over enough time and people find it and they like it, it could actually turn into a significant income stream. And then I get to make a living doing all of these things. So that's why I always tell people like, yeah, I think you should start a podcast, because it doesn't, even if you're not going to become the next, again, Joe Rogan, there's so many other benefits to doing it that I think you'll find, for anybody that's for people that are like really intellectually curious, or they like to question things, or they're kind of against the status quo type people. I think it can be extremely beneficial.